Hi Gemini, this is your Vedic Astrology forecast for the month of November 2014. Now this forecast applies to you guys if you have your moon or ascendant in the sign of Gemini in Vedic Astrology. If you're not sure whether you have this or not, just go to my website, generate your free Vedic birth chart to find out where your moon and ascendant are in Vedic Astrology, and I recommend watching both videos because they will both apply to you. Now, I know a lot of you are probably used to your sun sign in Western astrology. So if you're watching this video and you have your sun sign in Gemini in Western astrology, you might want to find out where your moon and your ascendant are in Vedic astrology. And even though you already know where your moon is in Western astrology, it might still be in a different sign in Vedic astrology because both of them use different zodiacs. The Western astrology uses tropical and Vedic astrology uses the sidereal zodiac. Now, that being said, I want to make it very clear that both astrologies are equally valid. Both astrologies are accurate. They both have wonderful tools of prediction, and they both have wonderful tools for determining our psychological profile. So I just want to make that clear that they're both great, they're both acceptable. One of them is not better than the other, but just don't confuse the two systems. If you're using your sun sign in Western, again, that one's going to apply to your Western forecasts. If you're following along with my videos, they're still going to apply to you, but make sure you're looking at the right sign. Now, Saturn is going to be transiting into your 6th house on November 2nd, and he's going to be there for the next 2.5 years or so. Now, Saturn being in your 6th house, he might produce one of two things. He might either give you a huge workload, tons of responsibility, maybe so much work that you feel like you're exhausted every day. You work 6 or 7 days a week. You hardly have any time off. Or he'll give you lack of work because Saturn is the planet of lack of restrictions, of delays, of obstacles. So he might give you one or the other. He might make you work really hard, or he might take away that and give you a lack of work. It all depends on your personal birth chart. It all depends on the planetary cycle that you're running at this time. And with Saturn being in your 6th house, Saturn rules 2 houses, and they appear to be contradictory. He rules the 8th house and he rules the 9th house. The 8th house is a house usually of stagnation, of not really feeling like you're moving forward. And the 9th house is the house of good fortune, and it's the house of blessings. So Saturn ruling both of these houses, he's going to bring both of those energies into your 6th house, into the house that he's transiting at this time. So he's going to bring both of those, being the 8th house lord. He might bring a little bit of restriction and delay. So if you are in a current job at this time and he's bringing you these responsibilities that you feel like you can't really bear with, or it's a lot for you, you might also feel that you're not really getting anywhere because even though he's putting all this workload on you, all this responsibility, there might still be a feeling of stagnation. You might be feeling that you're taking 1 step forward and 3 steps back. However, in Vedic astrology, there's a yoga called Vipari Raj Yoga. What this means is that a Dusthana Lord is sitting in a Dusthana house. A Dusthana Lord is a planet that rules the 3rd, 6th, 8th, or 12th house. It rules one of the trouble houses, if we want to call them that. But that planet is sitting in another so-called trouble house. What this means is, in a way, there's a cancellation of the trouble because the trouble lord is causing trouble to the trouble house, meaning he's taking it away. So it's not that he's taking it away. Usually what happens when a Dustana Lord is sitting in another Dustana house, usually what that means is that in the beginning, there will be struggles and certain challenges to overcome for sure, because it is still a Dustana house. There's still going to be challenges. There's still going to be some karmic lessons that we need to learn from, some spiritual growth that we need to go through. Because especially the 8th and the 12th houses are houses for spiritual growth. They're not meant to be houses where we progress on the material level, because usually what happens when we progress on the material level is we tend to neglect our spiritual life. So these planets, these places tend to promote spiritual growth through the challenges that they bring on the material level, because after all, the material world will end. Our material life, everything we know, everything we have now, it's all ephemeral, it's all temporal. And so we're not meant to forget our spiritual life. We're meant to live here in order to grow. So that being said, back to a Dustana Lord in a Dustana house, it will initially bring those struggles, maybe those challenges, those setbacks here and there. But this yoga, what it produces is a cancellation of that. So before the transit ends, or if you're running a cycle of a Dustana Lord in a Dustana house, before that dasha ends, before that sub-cycle or bhukti ends, you're going to see a resolution to those challenges, to those struggles. So it will not be throughout the whole transit or throughout the whole dasha. It will initially bring those struggles, but it will bring you the tools. It will give you the tools. It will give you the opportunity to overcome those. And then in your particular case, Saturn also rules the 9th house. The 9th house is a house of good fortune, of blessings, of spirituality, and of the inner life and the spiritual world and whatnot. So the 9th house being placed in your 6th house, there's also going to be an element of good fortune. There's also going to be an element of blessings. So with that being in your 6th house, you will tend to see that you're going to have some good and some bad. There's going to be a balance of both. It's not going to be all good. It's not going to be all bad. You're going to see maybe a setback here and then a blessing there where you least expected it. Maybe you weren't able to pay a certain debt now, or this, and then suddenly somebody came into your life that you hadn't spoken to in a while, and suddenly they let you borrow the money. Or maybe you had a huge debt and then a resolution appears, or an opportunity to pay it later, or maybe something happened, a blessing came into your life, maybe a sudden fortune, maybe money that you weren't expecting, something like that. That's the kind of theme that you may be seeing, that some of you may be experiencing for the next 2.5 years or so during this Saturn transit. Now, with Saturn being in the 6th house, there is another thing in Vedic astrology when a natural malefic planet, such as Mars, Saturn, Rahu, or Ketu, or Sun, if they're placed in growing houses. The growing houses are 3, 6, 10, or 11. If one of these planets or several are placed in a growing house, in an Upachaya house, then there's going to be steady growth for the significations of that planet and for the houses that planet rules. So in your case, Saturn is going to be placed in the 6th house, which is an Upachaya house. It is growth through struggle, but it's growth nevertheless. Whereas, the 8th house, there might be just steady stagnation where you're not really seeing any growth, but the 6th house is growth, steady growth. So actually when a malefic is placed in an Upachaya house, it is actually quite fortunate. It will bring growth. It will bring growth on the material level. It will bring those material benefits, but it will do it through hard work, or it'll do it through competition, because that is the nature of malefic planets. Malefics and upachayas bring growth when they're in growing houses through conflict, through opposition, through argumentation, through contention, because that is their nature. But nevertheless, they bring growth, they bring material benefits, they bring those qualities into the person's life. So with Saturn being in the 6th house, being in a growing house, being a natural malefic, he's going to bring an element of growth, especially during the second half of the transit, because that's when things will start picking up even more. And Saturn's going to do it through hard work. He's going to do it through hard work, but he's also going to bring blessings, because he does rule the 9th house in your case. So he's going to do it through both ways. You're going to see the good, you're going to see the hard work, you're going to see the blessings and the results of that hard work. Now, for the first half of the month, you're going to have 3 planets in your 5th house in Libra. Sun's going to be there until November 16th. Venus is going to be there until November 11th. And Mercury is going to be entering Libra on November 4th. And Mercury will be there throughout most of the month till the 27th or so of November. So for the first half of the month, you're going to see a lot of 5th house energy, 3 planets bringing a lot of support to this house. They're going to be energizing this house. The sun is not happiest in the sign of Libra. It's opposite the sign where he's exalted. The sun is exalted in Aries, so being in Libra, he doesn't shine as much as he shines in the sign of Aries, or in his own sign, or in his friends' signs. So he's not happy, but Venus is sitting there with the sun, and Venus is supporting the sun because Venus rules the sign of Libra. So Venus is in a way taking away that discomfort that the sun might be seeing. You might see an element of both. You might see because Venus being in his own sign, he's going to bring that good luck. He's going to bring that joy, that enthusiasm, that fun of the 5th house, the creativity. If you're on the dating scene, you're going to be seeing that, the romance, the infatuation. But Sun will bring in his element of doubts. You might experience certain doubts, or you may experience in regards to 5th house matters. If you are going out on a date, you may experience doubts as to the validity of it, or if you're working on a creative project, you may also you might experience this moments of flow because Venus is there, because Mercury is there. But you might also experience moments of self-doubt because Sun is making you doubt what you're creating, what you're working on. But Venus is the winner ultimately because Venus rules that sign. So Venus is going to come in and say, look, overlook those doubts. Don't even think about it. Don't let your own mind set you back. Just keep moving forward. Keep working on that project. Keep working on your creativity. Go out and have fun. Don't doubt yourself. Don't feel bad about it. Go do whatever it is that you want to do. Go out on those dates. If you're already in a stable relationship, you guys go out and have fun. Go out on small trips or just take time for yourselves. Now, on the second half of the month, Sun and Venus are going to be joining Saturn in your 6th house. There's going to be a shift of focus. Now the focus is not on fun, on creativity. That was the first half of the month. Now it's time to get back on track. It's time to focus on work now. The playtime is over. And this is going to be a good time to work on your projects, to finish your projects. Sun is in a friend's house in Scorpio, so Sun likes that house. Saturn is going to be there already. Venus is going to be there, bringing its beauty, bringing its own type of joy into the work that you're doing. You should be able to see some accelerated progress in your work, in your projects. And this is a good time to focus on that. Now, Mars is going to be in the sign of Sagittarius throughout most of the month until the 27th of November. So he's going to be in your 7th house of relationships, of business partnerships, of romance, of your marriage. So you may see an element of competition in your personal relationships. There might be an element of struggle, or maybe even some argumentation happening. It could be even for petty reasons, but Mars is going to be trying to bring his aggressiveness into your house of romance or into your house of business. And you might be seeing that with your clients too. Just expect it, but don't struggle against it. Try not to elevate it. Just expect that the energy is going to be there, and just have an open mind about it. And then he's going to leave that sign on the 27th. So especially through the second half of the month, there's going to be planets in your 6th house. Mars is going to be in your 7th house. So it is going to be a good time for you to focus on your patience, and maybe focusing on positive affirmations to be able to get you through this type of competitive energy that you might be seeing on this second half of the month. But trying not to exacerbate it. I know that it's hard sometimes when people get on our bad side, and we try to be patient, and it's just really hard to not say something back, or to keep quiet, or it's easy at first, but then if they keep saying something, then it's like, okay, that's enough. You might be seeing that it's natural, it's part of human life to just have that energy, that element of competition. That's how we grow, that's how we go through certain situations sometimes. Just expect it, but try not to make too much of it if you can. That's basically it for Mars transiting in through your 7th house. He's going to be aspecting your 1st house. So, he's going to be throwing his aggressive and competitive glance at you. You might be feeling that as well. A good way to let out that stress, to let out that energy, is by exercising, by transforming that Mars energy to aggressively use it for yourself. So through exercise, through sports, that's a good way of just kind of letting go of expressing that fire. That's a really good way of expressing that fire. He's going to be aspecting your 10th house. The aspect on the 10th house, Mars does well in the 10th house. Because Mars being or aspecting the 10th house means that you're using your aggressiveness towards growth through the career, or you're using your competition towards the growth of your work, of your career. So that is, even though with the aspect on the 10th house, there might also be maybe some argumentation with the bosses as well. Try to avoid that. You don't want to get in trouble with your boss, or you don't want, something negative of that sort. Then there's going to be an aspect on your 2nd house as well through his 8th aspect. from the 7th house from Sagittarius. And the 2nd house has to do with our income, with our resources. The best thing to do is try not to impulsively spend your income. Try not to impulsively spend, because Mars will try to do that. He'll try to have you spend money where you don't need to spend it, and he'll have you do it impulsively. You might have the desire to spend money on things that you don't really need. So that was your forecast for November 2014. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for additional forecasts, and do not forget to subscribe.